Good evening and welcome to the Checkpoint. This is U24 Television, the National Youth Development. My name is John Viana Yevare, hosting this show this evening. And the Checkpoint always comes to you every Tuesday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. here on U24 Television. The Checkpoint is where truth is spoken and voices are heard. This evening, we are discussing the legal meaning behind the national and international headlines. This week, we've seen a lot of developments, especially with the United States of America and Israel launching airstrikes against Iran. Iran has also retaliated, launching strikes on a number of countries in the Arab countries. And now, the lawyers are here to tell us what that means in international law and what is in it for Uganda, and whether we as Ugandans should be concerned in any way. But we also have domestic headlines, including the presidential pardon, the prerogative of mercy. We are going to understand what that is, what it means, and when it may be applied, and whether in Uganda it is being applied in accordance to law. And then we also want to interrogate the health memorandum which the United States has been signing with a number of African countries, and recently Zimbabwe said no. We want to find out why. And with me I have an able panel. Starting from my left is Isaac Stephen Musede. He's a lawyer. He has been on the Checkpoint before. You're welcome, sir. Please greet our viewers.
Thank you, Vianney, and to our viewer, I want to welcome you to the Checkpoint. We are here to discuss a number of internal issues and external issues that are happening in the global, actually. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Ashraf Misiriza. He's a student of the Law Development Center, an aspiring lawyer. You're welcome, sir. This is your first time. Please greet our viewers.
I'm much obliged, sir. Thank you, our dear viewers, tonight. I'm very happy today to be here at U24 discussing national matters, national importance, where we are going to discuss the issues he has already introduced. I'm very happy. You're most welcome, our dear viewers.
Thank you very much. And immediately I want to go to Isaac.
Yes.
And I want you to give us a background. The issue of Israel, United States of America, and Iran has gone out of hand, as one would say. What is international law?
Well, international law is categorized in different ways, but I want to categorically state that this involves other states that are supposed to be involved in the governance of the global network, the global peace and security of our nations in the world.
So, how does that relate to the United Nations Charter?
Now, when you look at the United Nations Charter, when you look at what is happening between Israel and USA against Iran, you know, the Charter gives us the background on what should be the real point why they should fight the other. So the Charter actually refuses, when you look at one of the articles, it does not allow any country to sabotage with the other country.
Yes, the principles of non-use of force. Article 2, paragraph 4. Article 2, clause 2, paragraph 4 is to the effect that you cannot use force against another nation.
No.
But how come USA and Israel have done so?
Yeah, when you look at these countries, they have some things that they are fighting against or they are fighting for. You know, this is one of the issues of concerning the superiority of the world, the superpower background. I think they feel USA should be above every other country in the world. And also Iran says, because we have our own resources, that can actually push us to have this handled amicably. They are trying to look at everything and say, no, you shouldn't fight us because of our resources. So may I look at why USA, Israel are trying to put efforts together and they are fighting Iran. They are looking at the superpower element in them. And when you look at today, a country that is having a number of resources, for example, Iran is basically known for their industries, basically on oil, petroleum and gas. So a country that has a number of these kind of products, resources, it tends to be a scare to some other countries. And from that point, they come up and say, no, why Iran, a small country, wants to have a lot of wealth through this petroleum.
So is there a legal basis for the attack that we've seen? Does the United States or Israel have any legal basis to go into Iran?
At the moment, they don't have any legal basis, because when you look at the charter, it does not allow any country to fight the other one unless there is an agreement for them to fight for something. So what they are doing right now is illegal from the very start.
You're saying unless there's an agreement for them to fight?
Yes.
What is that?
Now, when you look at...
They agreed to fight?
No, I think I did bring it very clearly. But when you look at the charter, it does not actually allow any other country to sabotage the other country in matters of economic, in matters of political, in matters of resources. Yes.
Okay, so some circumstances may arise where the other country may have a right to use force, yes, and the United States has been saying we are preventing something from Iran. They may have a nuclear bomb, they may attack Israel, they may attack whoever.
Yes.
Does that qualify as a preemptive attack?
Yeah, for that preemptive attack comes especially where there are ammunition that are being established by the other country. For example, when you look at the nuclear bombs, they become a threat. And remember, these, I think recently they had to bring one of the very fastest weapon that could run the whole globe within 45 minutes in the whole of this world. And so they are trying to be scared of what is happening if these people are trying to come up with the nuclear weapons. They could just, recently now we have gone to a level of the AI,
artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. Actually, you discover that everything can be done in your room, and then you set to disorganize another state. So based on that, it comes to be an issue to USA and Israel to fear, and they begin to attack.
But it is common knowledge that the United States have nuclear weapons.
Yes.
It is also alleged that Israel has nuclear weapons. Why not Iran?
Now, when you look at in the superpower countries that we have, I think Iran has not been among them. It's quite a young country that is trying to also come up with the new technology of manufacturing some of these ammunitions. And so it becomes a big threat to the superpower countries. So they want to make sure they get back to on the ground, and also to bring peace in the region or in the globe.
We have a number of international bodies which were set up by the charter itself,
yes,
in order to resolve disputes that may arise between states. But it appears that the United States has decided not to use those institutions. We have the United Nations General Assembly, the United Nations Security Council, the International Court of Justice. All these are available to resolve any dispute. In fact, if it comes to nuclear weapons, we have a number of bodies. Some of them have been monitoring Iran to ensure that they do not acquire a nuclear weapon. So can we state that the United States has decided to disregard international law by not using those very institutions?
Literally, when they not agree, they not follow the right procedure and protocol, eventually it comes to a point that they have disobeyed. And yet, those bodies have been established to manage conflicts that could be arising. But now where they don't go back to those other bodies, it becomes quite challenging. And of course, you look at the security, I think it begins to supersede from their actions. However, the issue is the fear of Iran's setup of those kind of ammunitions.
Let me come to Ashraf, and I want you to take us through whether we as Ugandans should be concerned. Let me give you context. I've seen on social media some Africans jokingly sending coordinates of different state houses, saying Iran has here a base or whatever United States has here a base and what have you. But putting that aside, what's the impact of the United States, Israel actions against Iran, especially to Africans? And I want you to also concentrate on Uganda. Should Ugandans be concerned in any way?
You see, when we concentrate more of these fictional shows, in most cases, the audience you are trying to maybe to show these things, they tend to get lost. Sometimes we hide behind the legal jargons and the terms, they get lost. So, but when we come here as citizens of this nation, at least we can simplify these terms. First of all, what does someone understand when you talk of international law? International law, as a layman out there, Ugandan, there are a set of rules that are being put to be followed by the countries themselves when they are dealing with each other. So these laws, they are there to put the measures that do not attack me. There is that key rule that says do not attack each other, do not use force, as you mentioned earlier. But your question was like, how does it affect Uganda, right? So you see, when the big animals fight in the jungle, the grass suffers. So when these big countries fight themselves, when they have wrangles within themselves, the small countries too suffer because they influence them politically, seeking their support. You know that most especially in UN, United Nations, they want, maybe you come and support me, that I'm the right person. So that one alone, it affects the whole, actually, let me take it this way. It affects the, what we call the standards of living in a country like Uganda in particular, because I will put my concentration on Uganda. So it affects the high standards of living, whereby the fuel prices will go high. The food prices
in fact,
will go high.
The Strait of Hormuz has been closed by Iran. That strait is used by international warships. Even the oil we get may be, affected by that very strait. And then yesterday, prices of oil globally started hiking.
So that is how. Now, how will the citizen of Uganda be affected? How? Because someone might be there and say, if they fight, let them fight. For us, we don't want to know, as for us, we are at peace. But if you get a border, and trust me, the fares, the transport fares has hyped high, you're going to be affected. If you board a taxi, when the fuel is high, you'll be affected too as a Ugandan. So that is as an effect of the other countries fighting.
Should we say we are in World War III? And what would the World War look like, if not this one?
Tentatively, I think we are basically going into World War III, but indirectly. Indirectly, we are in World War III. Because when those superpowers fight, there is no way we can ignore, since we also somehow, somewhere, we depend on them.
What is your comment on Ugandans who are in Arab countries? We have many people who are in Arab countries on what we call cheyo.
Yes.
Ladies, gentlemen, young Ugandans, they are in Arab countries.
So that is the call, Mr. Vianney. All the opposition politicians have been talking about, why can't we settle in Uganda and give jobs to our children here instead of exporting them outside there? See, so Uganda is rich, but unfortunately we export our children to go and suffer from out there. So that is all along the cry of the so-called Kano Chiza Besigye, the Bobby Wine, His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. But now, we see now these things are coming to reality. So it is an effect of poor, let me say, leadership. So we need to wake up as a country.
So other countries have taken steps. Yesterday I saw Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, saying they are trying to make arrangements for British citizens to return home. Would we do the same, or that would be too much for us?
Actually, it would be the very best thing to do if we could make arrangements for our Ugandans to come back home. And even not even going back, and not even thinking about them going back. They should come here and settle, because it is their country and they should feel peace in their country.
Thank you.
But that would only be work if the leadership has improved the way of looking at things.
They would argue that exporting labor is one way of expanding the opportunities for young people. Because
how many Americans
even
have you
here,
seen in Uganda that they are coming here to Kuba Cheyo, as you mentioned?
they are
How many?
Chinese, they are Kenyans, they are Indians.
Those Indians and Chinese, actually, they are brought here not to Kuba Cheyo, but they come as the so-called Musigansimbi. But they don't come here to Kuba Cheyo. You know that those people, they nearly own our country, because a Chinese here or an Indian is favored so much than even a Ugandan, whereby you have seen the foreigners, the Sudanese, they can come here and they press the Ugandans and nothing is done. But you go to Sudan or any other country.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be coming back to you. We are streaming live on our social media handles. You'll be going to YouTube, search for U24 Television, and then be able to follow this conversation live. Send in your comments. We shall be able to read them during this show. We're also on TikTok, search U24 Television, and please follow us even on X, and we'll be able to read your comments in case you send one. I want to go back to Isaac, especially to comment on the legal aspect of ending such a war which has started already. So how can these countries end this war? What would be the strategy, especially from the legal perspective? Should Iran continue to strike the allies of United States in the Middle East? Is that one of the strategy, or is there a strategy through which we can end this legally?
Well, when you look at our Article 2, Clause 4 of the UN Charter, it talks about the countries when they agree not to use force against each other, except in self-defense. Now you look at Israel and the USA, they are trying to do what we call self-defense. And the charter, the article tries to give them that mandate on looking at what kind of ammunition Iran is trying to develop. So that on that background, you discover that one of the aspects is about there should be the sovereignty respect. When we begin to respect our people who have moved a little ahead of us, I think it gives a better dish to in what is happening in these countries, because from the onset, USA has always been ahead in a number of aspects.
When you say USA has been ahead, I want you also to comment on the recent sanctions.
Yes.
The Rwanda Defense Forces were sanctioned,
Yes.
I think was it yesterday, for the support of M23.
Yes.
Should the USA be the police of the world? Why should they be ahead and want to police everything? Are they justified, for example, for such sanctions internationally and in international law? Why would they do that?
You know, at some point, you discover that the sovereignty power it becomes superior, and it's the one that is now making them to behave in that way. But literally, when you come back to, I want to bring it back to Ubuntu. If we were to bring back the Ubuntu concept,
and also as you bring in the Ubuntu,
Yes.
remember the Treaty of Westphalia,
Yes.
many years ago, I don't know, it was in 1600s,
Yes.
which stated that all states are equal.
Yes.
So in international law, United States is equal to Rwanda, for example.
Yes.
So bring that concept of Ubuntu.
Now, when you bring, when I talk about the concept of Ubuntu, you discover that we should have that equal understanding with one another. We should also have to feel how I would feel bad if somebody has attacked me. So, for example, at this point, when Iran is doing their own things and the USA, Israel, they want to come and attack, I think it doesn't sound very well. And that's why now it becomes quite challenging. Now, back to what you asked me about the sanctions. You know, when you look at the sanctions, they were set on a number of grounds. One, where they thought, you know, in their plan, they were supposed to provide a lot of health services to these countries, and especially because most of the African countries are suffering with a lot of HIV, AIDS, also suffering from a lot of pneumonia, a lot of malaria, and so many other diseases that are affecting Uganda, for example, and other African countries. So you discover the sanctions come because people are not willing to take on some of these things, and that means they are trying to freeze on certainly accounts that are supposed to be, handled as a country. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to understand more from that perspective.
Yes.
Because should other countries rely on US aid, the aid from the United States, to fund such priorities? Because when you speak of malaria, and you speak of pneumonia, you speak of HIV.
Yes.
For instance, in Africa, we have the Abuja Declaration in the early 2000s, which stated that all African governments should be able to finance at least 15% of their budget, the total budget. For example, if you have a 100 trillion budget, then 15 trillion should at least be allocated to health. We've not done that as Africans. Most African countries have not respected that. So should we say we have ourselves to blame for the United States to think that they can police over us because we have failed to do the basics that we are supposed to be doing?
Thank you, Vianney. At some point, we can carry the blame on one ground that we've not appreciated yet that we have a number of resources as a country. And now the superpower countries, when they begin looking at us at that angle, we begin to become vulnerable. And that's when they begin to come up with sanctions or to impose certain things. But until we realize that we have a lot of God-given potentials and resources in our countries here, especially in African countries, and also in Uganda, some of those things we can't manage. Thank God that in part of the Western Uganda, we have there's been a discovery of the oil. Because when you look at Iran, why they are trying to also come up to see that they are running very fast because of the oil. So we also have the oil now. The day it begins to, of course that's the process, but the time it begins to be exported and whatever happens within our country, I believe we'll have some mandate. But we need to discover that as African countries, we have a lot of resources.
And I want, Ashraf, indeed you want to come in. I want you to come in and also discuss it in this context, because some people are arguing the reason why United States went to Venezuela, picked Nicolas Maduro, was because Venezuela has oil. Lots of oil, by the way. The reason why they have gone to Iran is because, like we've stated, Iran has lots of oil. The reason why Rwanda has been sanctioned, some have argued, it is because the allegation that they are supporting the M23 is because M23 is operating in eastern Congo, which has rare earth minerals. And you know, the President of America has been looking for those minerals everywhere, including in Ukraine. And Isaac seems to suggest that even in Uganda, when we start exploiting oil, we need to be on the look. Do you think that the sanctions that we receive as Africans or as other nations from the United States are justified, or it is European imperialism, like to quote some leaders on how they have been quoting it? Or when you analyze, for example, the situation in Uganda, do you think if you were in the shoes of the President of the United States, would you recommend sanctions?
You see, there is one very important aspect that we all need to know and we all need to have. It is called independence. So, because African countries lack independence, we depend more on Western countries and the superpowers like the US and what have you. So that's why we tend to.
I don't know what you mean when you say we lack independence. Because every 9th October we celebrate independence. For example, for Uganda.
You see, by the look of the things, we are still under what we call colonial rule, but indirectly, direct rule. So that's why my brother was talking about that we do not have, we are not actually independent in a way. There is a way he brought it up, but I also I also quote one of the words of a musician, say that if someone comes in your home and makes you a beggar, he makes the rules for you to follow. That was Bobby Wine. That I don't know whether I can use the Uganda lines in that
it's
song.
Okay.
That omuntu wakufula bega ajja nemaka nakukolera amateeka. So now we have been made to be beggars, and we are following those rules from the Western countries. So your question was, can we follow the sanctions?
I mean, is it justified to from the US to levy sanctions on Rwanda,
globally,
on other countries? Zimbabwe has been under sanctions.
Globally, the short answer is that those big countries or in global politics, the powerful countries often interpret international law in a way that really benefit them. Yes, they do not interpret them in a way that benefit these small countries.
I see.
So it is on their favor that we want to do this, we want to say this. They set themselves procedures to follow when actually they are benefiting.
Thank you very much. That's why some scholars of international have argued that international law may not be law at all. Instead, they say it is positive morality. I mean, a country may choose to follow it or not, because they will always bring about a line, try to defend their position, and say they are the most
Mr.
correct.
Vian, you know there are two exceptions in international law. One being you should not attack the other country unless when you're defending yourself. And another, we should look at as, students of law and lawyers out there, we should see, was there, when there was an attack, was it with a measurable force? Was it with a measurable force,
In other words, you're saying if you're going to attack, it must be a preemptive attack. In other words, you don't want the other person to attack you first.
Yes.
So the test is imminent danger. Was there almost an imminent attack from the other side?
Exactly. So another thing that when the UN Security Council maybe official allows force, that's when maybe you can.
And that has been the debate, because when they were going to Iraq in the early 2000s, George Bush tried to convince the United Nations Security Council to join them and go to Iraq. But also for Libya, they tried to do that and they failed. But the concept has been to rally other countries to support them. Britain has refused, Spain has refused, and many others have refused to join Israel and USA. So, and one of the challenges has been that United Nations Security Council has what we call veto power. Veto power that the 5 permanent members, which is the United States, United Kingdom, Russia, China, and France.
Yes.
They have a veto power. One of them can say yes or can say no. And if he says no, then you cannot proceed. So, in your opinion, is this the end of international law?
Actually, as I said, they are like this game, they are the masters of the game. So once they sit down and they say, we are agreeing on this one, we are going to follow or we are not going to follow. So the small countries cannot argue. They cannot argue. However much you like it or not, you'll still follow their procedure. So you'll be like just, we call them what? You'll be like just following by bandwagon. So There's no way we can do about
Thank you very much. And now we are going to our next segment, which is the concept of prerogative of mercy. You've heard recently in the news that some prisoners have been pardoned. But what is the concept of prerogative of mercy and when does it apply? Over to you, Isaac.
Yes.
What is prerogative of mercy and when can it be invoked?
Thank you, Vianney. When we talk about the prerogative of mercy, we are at a concept of where the president of the country, for example in Uganda here, has the power to pardon, to reduce on the sentence of someone, literally. And this is enshrined in our constitution of Uganda. It is him alone who is supposed to really have that prerogative of mercy. And also looking at the circumstances, how have you been, at what level of, what did you do exactly before you are aligned to the courts of law? And thereafter, after being aligned to the courts of law, how long have you served? Have you learned something? Though at some point you discover that it can be a tool to be used in the political space, especially because not everybody can be, but you have seen a number of statistics. They show that for several years, a number of prisoners have been set free under the prerogative of mercy. Yes.
Okay. Isaac, do you agree? Sorry, apologies. Ashraf, do you agree with that concept?
Of course, you know that we all know that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And once there is any article that talks about any freedom or any right that is given to any person, that right must be put into practice and must be followed. We cannot challenge the Constitution. So prerogative of mercy under Article 121, it gives the president's power, and I agree with it, I have no problem with that. So the president has power, as my brother mentioned, to pardon, to reduce on the sentence or punishment. So there's no problem with that. That is enshrined in the Constitution, and it is the law we are all following. But behind that, there is a problem we are facing. But since you have asked actually that question in particular, I agree with the law. Who am I not to disobey the law? That one is okay.
So, there are very many prisoners, yeah?
Yes.
Now, the Committee on the Prerogative of Mercy, I mean, do you think if you were appointed on that committee, would you use it as a tool to reduce on the congestion of prisons?
You see, in most cases, prerogative of mercy, or what we call clemency, it comes after someone has been convicted. They are tried and convicted. It works literally, it works, but remember, people should differentiate these two. Someone may look at it as if it has compromised the judiciary and the court system, because courts have already sentenced someone to a certain period. For example, our Muhammad Sewufu, who was pardoned recently by the president. Instead of 18 years, he had served 11 years. That one definitely does not mean that the president has challenged the court. It is the powers given to him by the Constitution.
Okay.
Therefore, your question was, do you?
Would you use it as a tool to reduce on the congestion of prisons?
But of course, basing on a number of factors, because the president does not just base in vacuum. There is a committee that sits and analyzes which offense, maybe what are the factors surrounding? Was there excessive detention? Was the punishment very excessive by the court? Those are the factors that they look at before they reduce. I would also encourage, it would be better because people are there, people are suffering, and the families have lost hope. There are people incarcerated. Yet even they can be pardoned by the president.
I have feedback from Nyakato Anet, is following on YouTube and is, but I have a number of questions and is sending regards to Ashraf. And one of the questions that comes up is the issue of prisoners. In fact, are they prisoners or they are not yet prisoners? If someone has not yet been convicted, they are still undergoing the trial process.
Yes.
We recently had Professor Yusuf Nsubambi suggesting that he may talk to the president such that some of the people are released. What's your comment on that?
You see, it is very sad and absurd, very unfortunate to see such a prominent man, a man of his caliber, to stand and make such a statement. Yet I expect him to understand the constitutional procedures. Because he has been member of parliament, I believe he is still a member of parliament. Because they have not yet shown them out. So I believe Mr. Honorable Nsibambi, you know what we call the parliamentary procedure. You standing up and say that negotiations should be done with the executive for these people to get their freedom. I am happy to inform you and to educate you that for human rights, they are not negotiable. They are not negotiable. Human rights, they are not granted by the state. When you visit Article 20, if I have not forgotten, Article 28. Not 28.
2023.
Actually, it should be Article 20, Article 20 of the Constitution of Uganda. It talks about human rights not being negotiable by the state. They are there, you must be with them, you must be with it actually. So you say that people should go and negotiate with the president or any other executive, that is compromising with the judiciary. They must pass through a legal procedure. Whereby there are only three ways, Mr. Vian and the viewers out there. Number one, the DPP has powers to withdraw the charges from the accused person. That is under Article 121. Under 121.
120.
120. Thank you very much. Has powers to withdraw the charges from a accused person. Secondly, court has powers to grant bail. You've mentioned of something like if someone is still being tried, they are not yet proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Thirdly, the one we have been discussing here, the prerogative of mercy, the pardon, the presidential pardon. There is no any way that Constitution talks about you negotiating on the tables with the executive that you get your freedom back. I submit.
Thank you very much. We also have feedback from Trevor Ayobare. He's also following and is very live. Thank you for watching this program. This is the U24 television, the Checkpoint program, where we talk about legal matters. And as the lawyers, they are doing a good job. And I'm going to Isaac on the concept of prerogative of mercy and the issue of negotiating for prisoners. I don't know that they are prisoners. The release, those who are not yet convicted. What is your comment?
Well, like my brother has been alluding to the procedures to be followed. But when we talk about the prerogative of mercy, basically we are looking at that pardon given as that is mandated by the president of your country. And so he's obliged to, after he has been given clear advice by the committee. That's why he comes up. But about 2-3 things I can address on this. One, upon the advice of the committee, on the prerogative of mercy, the president has to take an action. Number two, on humanitarian reasons, he can also release some of these people, even when they are not being yet convicted, because he has to base on the advice given by the committee.
Would the committee look at a file where someone has not yet been convicted?
Now, some of these things depend on, because now we're looking at the decongestion also of the prisons. The people who have been on remand for about 5 years, I think the maximum I've learned should be, must have been 8 years. Now, that alone is enough time somebody to reform, because prisons are basically for reformation. In case somebody has been not a good person in the community, or others have been just taken there for the reasons which are just allegations, that's why they are put on remand. So maybe after the state has tried to do their investigations, they can still release this person on humanitarian grounds. So that's why I began the issue of the Ubuntu concept.
That would be the powers of the DPP, yes, and Article 120, where he has to ensure justice is done in public interest, but yes, also that the criminal justice system is not abused, but not the prerogative of mercy.
Yeah, that's true. You are right. But now, you know, these things work, I mean, they go hand in hand. Where they haven't yet reached to the level of the committee, and then the president comes in, literally down here, the DPP's office has that mandate to do those charges from some of these people, as they have done, because they are the major office that always does the investigations. So on the other side, I want to bring an issue of, you know, some of these things come as a result of correcting some judicial errors that could have happened. And that's why now the prerogative of mercy comes in play, but of course hand in hand by the advice given by the committee, because the committee plays a bigger role in this scenario. Yes.
Thank you very much. I see Trevor Ewale was asking whether the president of the country can now pardon Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Of course, my comrade, Council Ewale Trevor, as we said and as we are discussing here, it is in the constitutional mandate, and it is stated clearly under Article 121 that the president has powers to pardon. So it is upon him. It is not a must that he must forgive. It is actually, it is his, one of his rights he has to exercise, but it is not a must. But actually, after looking at a number of reasons as why he has to pardon, but in most cases, as we are saying, someone has to first exactly. They cannot be pardoned when they are not convicted yet. So and Colonel Kizza Besigye is still under trial. There is no way they can pardon him. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much. I have feedback from Richard. Richard Rono, thank you for watching. He's saying he thinks that before conviction, the accused is still presumed innocent. And Isaac, you highlighted that someone can be remanded for 5 years. Colonel Kizza has been on remand since I think 2024.
Yes.
You know, November. Up to now, he's still on remand. So that's the justice system, criminal justice system. There is need for improvement. Yes. Fast forward, our time is fast spent.
So, Mr. Vianney, on that still, that's why we have what we call bail, mandatory bail. So that's where the court comes in. But because our legal system is compromised, that's why you said also it needs an improvement.
Another day we will have to discuss the bail, and you tell me how the judicial system is compromised in detail, and then for the benefit of our viewers. Now I want us to briefly, in 2 minutes, and I want to start with Isaac, to tell us about this animal called the Health Memorandum. The Memorandum of Understanding between the United States of America and many African countries. As we speak, about 11 countries in Africa have signed that Memorandum of Understanding concerning sharing of health data with the United States of America. But in Kenya, we have an individual who challenged that agreement and the court has put it on hold tentatively. Zimbabwe refused to sign that, and I saw the United States Embassy saying they are taking a painful decision to withdraw their funding, including financing the health sector in terms of, the support they were giving Zimbabwe. They were stopping doing that. Are African countries benefiting anything from this agreement?
Well, when you look at a country like Uganda, after, of course, there are quite a lot of money that has been set in play. If we are to sign that agreement, then it has its own implications. To begin with is, one, African continent is so much into the issue of a lot of diseases. And like in the beginning, I mentioned of some of the diseases that in the African continent here people are suffering. One of them is malaria. So when you look at the signing of this agreement, USA looks at it as a tool to improve on our health services. Number two, to also improve on our security. And also the other one is to also reduce on the element of the dependency of the foreign aid. Now, when you look at the relevance of this is that one is to improve on our health sector or services. For example, you look at how malaria kills people. Actually, it even kills more than the HIV/AIDS recently. So if money has been released for supporting people who are suffering from this kind of epidemics, diseases, the health services are trying to be improved upon. The other issue is also to control for disease control. And when you look at a number of diseases that could be affecting our continents, still there are these very epidemics that keep coming up. And then we also have to look at the financial commitments. So when you look at our, USA had to think of spending over $500 billion into this health sector, and this gives a better backup on working on the diseases that could be affecting our nations in Africa. So when you look at the signing, it has a good side of it, but also it has some implications as well. Just like now you can see, if you do not, sign, there could be sanctions, like some other countries have been sanctioned.
Thank you very much. And that could raise the question, what is in for USA? Because when you look at the heading of that agreement, they sign it with America first. I am coming to you, Ashraf, in about 1 minute, because the USA seems to be benefiting more than the African countries are doing. That heading is, they are signing it with America first. So how can America first be interested in saving us first and foremost, and for them, be seen as offering help? And yet the agreement also says we share with them timely health data, including specimen. So when you go to the hospital, they diagnose you with anything, immediately they have to inform the United States.
There are quite a number of reasons, or cautious reasons, why some particular countries are refusing to sign that memorandum. One of them is equity and trust deficit, to whereby the memory of unequal vaccine distribution, you witnessed that one during COVID-19. So it still lingers. So there is that still gap. So many leaders have worry of entering binding arrangements without guarantees of fairness. That is one of them. Secondly, we have what we call implementation burden. So that burden, so there's low and middle income countries, they worry about being bound to obligations, actually without a matching financial and technical support. So that's why they are very vigilant and they are refusing to sign this memorandum.
Thank you very much. Feedback from Richard Rono is that once one is on remand, then he has a right to bail. Indeed, that is a hot topic in Uganda, and we'll be looking at that in the coming days. And I'm going to be picking your final words, gentlemen, because time is not our best friend. Let me pick from you, Ashraf, your final remark as we come to the conclusion of this show. What do you have to say in your final remarks, just in 30 seconds?
I want to pledge to our dear countrymen and women that our country needs prayers, much as we witnessed that some of the prayers praying for Dr. Kano Chiza Besigye, it was not a success. It was meant to suffer some political, aspects by the government. But we need prayers as the country, because we are at a crossroads. At crossroads, we need to pray for our motherland, Uganda. I want to thank you very much, the viewers who have been watching us, actually from the very beginning up to this time. And I want to also send my greetings to Council Trevor Ayebare. Thank you for watching. Council Annette Nyakato, Council Nixon, to my mom and dad whom I have left home back, my brothers and sisters. So I want to leave you with one thing that most especially what you have discussed about here, that fundamental human rights and freedoms are not negotiable and not granted by the state. So you have the right to have them, have it. So that is all tonight I wanted to discuss. Thank you for having me, Mr. Vianney.
Thank you very much. I will be happy to have you again on the checkpoint. Over to you, Isaac.
Thank you, Vianney, and to our viewer. Tonight, I want to say that what is happening globally and internally affects us directly or indirectly. One, when you look at what is happening with Iran and the USA and Israel, it shouldn't be for fun. As a country, like my brother has alluded, we should really go on our knees and pray. Because when the fights are on, which could be termed in quotes as Third World War, which we don't want to hear, it affects Uganda in a number of ways. One, the flights will also be sabotaged. Now we have our brothers and sisters who are in those other Arab countries. Coming back becomes a challenge. Getting on board, like if when we look at our systems in Uganda here, we take at times a snail's way of movement. So other countries could be picking up their people, but now for us we are still here. We could also we are going to experience, actually, if this war goes beyond 2 weeks from now or a month, you will begin to see on the petrol stations that our prices of fuel will increase. And so it increases, it means a lot of disaster happens to us. Lastly, I also want to appreciate that it is once again I've been here. I think we should have more of these engagements and keep watching us wherever you are. But also we shouldn't forget the prerogative of mercy. It is real. The President has always handled some of these matters based on the advice given by the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Isaac Stephen Musede. Thank you, Ashraf Gumisiriza, for being here this evening. They are both lawyers. I'm also a lawyer, by the way. And this evening we are discussing the legal meaning behind the national and geopolitical headlines. And I want to thank all of you for viewing and for participating. Trevor Ayebare, Annette Nyakato, Ronald, Richard, and many others who have sent in your comments, though we have not looked at them due to time. But next week we shall be here again, Tuesday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. The checkpoint is where truth is spoken and voices are heard. And this is U24 Television. Coming up is U24 Cinema. See you then and have a good night.